Hello, it is 9 p.m. in Cairo, our time for our top stories for today, and we start our top stories with current affairs. Libya. Parliament authorized a mechanism for selecting candidates for the Prime Minister of the National Unity Government and one of his two deputies, which will be submitted to Parliament's Dialogue Committee in Geneva. Parliament member Saleh Galma says that the vote was to choose two people from within the Parliament with 67 votes out of 160 votes. He noted that names of candidates may be introduced and voted on in the next week's session after reviewing what is going on in dialogue session in Geneva. Spokesman for interim government Hatem Al-Arabi announced that the crisis committee in Derna City submitted its formal resignation to the government. Al-Arabi noted that the committee's work was limited to providing administrative and humanitarian services to citizens in the city, pointing out that the commission has not received any money since the beginning of its work until time of submitting of its resignation. British Parliament member and former Minister of International Cooperation Andrew Mitchell said that the round of talks between parties of the Libyan crisis, which will be resumed today in Geneva, is a step in the right direction. Mitchell added that the situation in Libya is on a brink of collapse, but there are still reasons for optimism. Moreover, he noted that the talks led by UN envoy to Libya Bernardino Leon aimed at reaching an agreement to form a government of national unity in order to overcome the current crisis that took place in Libya. And from Derna, spokesman for Omar al-Mukhtar operations Abdel Karim Sabra said that the Air Force aircraft targeted a site of terrorist Daesh group in Aqba area in Derna. Sabra noted that the vertical aircraft launched airstrikes on the flower factory in street of Sidi Aziz and Al-Fatayh area. In the meantime, Sabra stressed that the violence clashes broke out between people and youth of Derna and terrorist Daesh group in 400 neighborhood and the eastern coast area, where terrorist elements suffered human losses and material damage. Member of Benghazi Municipal Council Awad Ligueri said that the council bought a 7-year plan for reconstruction of the city and finding a solution of problems of the displaced people. Gueri added that the issue of the displaced people is a top priority for the municipal council, pointing out that a team from the council prepared a contingency plan for means of building a ready and decent housing for refugees. Moreover, Gueri noted that houses are healthy and matching local and international standards. In the meantime, he pointed out that the financial budget for the project is about 1,815 million dinars, and this amount will include establishment of 30,000 housing units. And to Yemen, the United Nations humanitarian chief Stephen O'Brien visited the devastated Yemeni city of Amman today to take stock of the situation. O'Brien met several people living at the school. He said, "I am here in Amman to see for myself the effects of terrible conflict, which has been a real terrible thing for the Yemeni people." O'Brien's visit coincides with the end of the 3-day tour by the president of the International Committee of the Red Cross, Peter Murray, also the Yemen was crumbling under a deepening humanitarian crisis. More than 4,000 people have been killed in the conflict, which descended into civil war in March, which Houthi rebels advanced towards the southern city of Aden after capturing capital Sana'a. The advance of Houthi forces President Abdurrahman Mansour Hadi to go to Saudi Arabia. The Houthis have been pounded with airstrikes by a coalition led by Saudi Arabia for more than 4 months. And this item from Iraq. Iraq's parliament voted no today for the biggest shakeup in its governing system since the U.S. military occupation, eliminating entire layers of government and giving Prime Minister Haidar al-Abadi new powers. Several of al-Abadi's influential rivals will be stripped of official posts, including former Prime Minister Noor al-Maliki, who will lose the job of Vice President he has held since stepping down as Prime Minister last year after 8 years in power. A year in office Abadi had sought to transform a system which divides posts to party leaders on ethnic and sectarial lines, which he says encouraged corruption, incompetence and political blackmail that were making the country ungovernable. Under the sweeping reforms, the 3 positions of vice president and 3 deputy prime ministers will be scrapped. Moreover, several ministers will be combined to eliminate cabinet posts. The planning and finance minister will be merged. Water will be combined with agriculture and environment will be combined with health. Abadi will give the power to fire provincial governors and regional officials who often wield more power in their territories than central authorities. On to Syria, the Bezmir neighborhood of the western Turkish city of Izmir has become a hot spot for Syrian migrants. The Turkish Coast Guard today rescued 330 Syrians adrift in the Aegean Sea after failing to reach Greece. Crisis at Greece has seen a dramatic rise in the number of people seeking refuge. The United Nations Refugee Agency said that 124,000 have arrived this year by sea. Turkey is home to more than 1.8 million Syrian refugees escaping the 4-year-old civil war. Hundreds of migrants attempt to set sail to Greek islands from western Turkish sites. Wealth compared with neighboring states has long made it both a destination and transit point for migrants from the Middle East and as far afield as Africa and South Asia. Tens of thousands of migrants cross Greece's sea and land borders every year, the vast majority via Turkey. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan says fight against PKK and terrorist Daesh groups will continue until not one terrorist is left within Turkish border. Erdogan said, "We know that the terrorist PKK had great losses as a result of military operations carried out in and out of our borders. We have also carried out effective operations against extremist Daesh group." He added that stopping gunfire is not enough. Guns should be laid down and buried. Meanwhile, Turkey and the United States have agreed on the terms of a safe zone in northern Syria. Broadcaster CNN quoted Ankara's Foreign Ministry Undersecretary as saying today, "The safe zone to be patrolled by fighters from the rebel-free Syrian army would allow US and Turkish forces to hit the extremist Daesh group or Kurdish militants if they entered the area." And about Greece and its international lenders reached an €85 billion ballot agreement today after nailing down the terms of new loan needed to save the country from financial ruin. The deal, which came after 23 hours of talks that continued through the night, must still be adopted by Greece's parliament and by Eurozone countries. The currencies bloc finance ministers are expected to give their approval on Friday in time for Greece to make a crucial €3.2 billion debt repayment that falls due next week. Greek shares rallied with the bank's index climbing 3%, while the government's 2-year borrowing cost fell to a 5-month low. German Deputy Finance Minister Jens Schant told Reuters the deal should be able to stand for the next few years rather than just a few months. A bomb attack on a backed market in northeastern Nigeria, bearing the hallmark of Boko Haram, killed around 50 people today. The explosion struck at around 1:30 p.m. in the town of Sabon Gjari in Borno State, which is the heartland of the militant group. A military source said that around 50 people had been killed. Boko Haram has killed thousands of people during a 6-year army campaign to set up an Islamic State in the northeastern Nigeria. More than 600 people have been killed in raids and bombings by the insurgents since President Mahmoud Buhari took office on May 29, promising to crush the group. At the start of the year, Boko Haram controlled a territory about the size of Belgium. The army said it pushed the group from most of the area in the few last months with the help of troops from Chad, Niger and Cameroon, but there have been a recent resurgence in militant attacks. My audience, that is the wrap up of our top stories for today. For much more, you can check our website www.الكرامة.tv. Thanks for being with us. See you next time. My greeting, رانيا البليدي.
التالي النشرة الرئيسية من وطن الكرامة.